honored. Since I came to the church, I've seen him. I've seen how his dad raised him, and at the same time, seeing the man that he has become for himself, for his family, and showing an example. And Cameron, even though I'm older than you, I look up to you because I look up to you as far as a father as well, and being the man that you are, being the humble man that you are. And one thing I've noticed about you, man, since uh, um since I've known you, one exception, man, you've been humble. Every aspect of your life, you've been humble, and I do appreciate that. So right now, please rise because we're about to be fed by Pastor Cameron.
That, all right. Oh, Heavenly Father, God, thank you for this day, God. God, we just thank you for life, health, and strength. God, we thank you for waking us up this morning, dear God. God, we just thank you for protecting us, God, for keeping us, God, keeping us in our right mind, dear God. God, we just thank you today for all of the fathers, all of the dads, all of the father figures, all of the dad figures, dear God. God, we just thank you for sustaining, dear God. God, we thank you for blessing, dear God. God, we just thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. All right. Good morning. So, um, normally when it's holidays and stuff like Mother's Day, Father's Day, I hate being uh specific on that holiday, uh but today I did want to stick to the theme today of Father's Day. Just because I had, just thinking and reflecting on, what it is to be a father, what it is to be a dad, what it is to be a man. I wanted to reflect on that. Um, and one of the key words, are sayings that I always hear and I do like is it says that any man can be a father, but it takes a special man to be a dad. It does take a special man to be a dad. And before I get into all of that, I always want to thank my wife. Um, Thank you. Yep, give her a hand clap. Thank you. Yep, give her a hand clap. Um, because because you know, as I'll keep it to me. Anyway, as me growing as a man, being a father, being a dad, your wife pushes you beyond your limits. And if anyone knows my wife, or have gotten to know my wife is an A type personality. And she's everything is specific, right? And I'm the free will, I'm the free spirit in the house, right? But you always need challenges. You always need someone that believes in you. You always need someone that can push you beyond, because you'll never know your true potential, right? And my wife has allowed me to grow. My wife has been able to create an atmosphere in the house for me to be the man. And that's something that I do appreciate. Now, my wife she is smarter than me. I can say that humbly. Um, and truthfully, I do know that she's very, very smart, and I just know that no matter what accomplishments she may have, she never lets that get into the way of me being the man of the house. And I do appreciate that. We work very hard on keeping peace in our house. We work very hard at that. Not every day is perfect, of course, but that is something that we strive to have, right? And I do appreciate you, and I love you. And to my mother, because that's the first, step of all of that. Like growing up, um, my mom, as everyone knows, anyone can talk to my mom, and she'll be able to give you some words of encouragement, um, and just give you, uh, just make you feel like everything is going to be okay. And my mom has always done that for my brother and myself, and I know she's done it for my dad as well, and has always been the foundation of us being a family and being a close knit family, through any struggles or good times, bad times, my mom has always been consistent in that fact, raising me on how to treat a woman, things to look out for, all these different things. My mom has set the foundation in me. So when I do have my wife and marry my wife, I knew how to treat her. I knew how to respect her. I knew how to, you know, just be a man to her. Now, obviously, there's growth in all of that, but my mom set that foundation in me. And to my mom, I thank you and I love you for that. So, but to move forward, again, a father, any man can be a father, but it takes a special man to be a dad. Now, I don't want that to be a bad negative connotation on the word father because it's not, but just another way of looking at it, right? So when I started to focus on that, God is just giving us giving all of us free will. We can really do as we please as we walk on the earth, right? And with that, as fathers, right, we plant seeds. We plant seeds in every aspect of our lives, right? We plant seeds in order to have children. We are supposed to be the caretakers and the harvesters of our family, our harvesters of whatever we go to do, right? And there can be aspects of that where we plant seeds of selfishness, our ego, and because we're young, growing up, you're young. Brother Arthur, I know you remember when you was young, how strong you were. Maybe may have been somewhat defiant. I growing up strong, being somewhat defiant, and it's amazing how you grow as a man and your mind at some point clicks for you and you start to pull all of those things back, right? And you start to think about um like you just start to, I don't know, essentially just calm down. I hope that my dad don't mind me telling, but my dad used to have no type of patience. He used to have he had to really work on becoming patient because he had a short fuse, so to speak, right? And as I've seen him grow and have his walk, his daily walk with Christ, because we have daily walks, right? And me and my dad have a great relationship. I could pick on him, he can pick on me, and we can do that, right? So, but he used to have just be short patient, right? But I've seen him grow and develop as a man of God to where now I can't tell if he even has if he's even that way anymore. I'm pretty sure but it's a daily walk, right? Like he has to work on that because every single day there's going to be something that tests his patience. Every single day as a man, especially as black men, there's something that is going to test us, right? There's something that's going to challenge us, right? And we have to be able to understand the special connection and appreciation that we have with God and walking with God, right? As a man, we're supposed to be able to grow, develop, and become the protectors, become the the providers of our family. And the only way you do that is by one, just simply having something that you need to create every single day. We all have some type of baggage as a man that we bring into it. Now, for me, right, I think that you really can't fully get there. This is just my opinion until you have a wife. Because, like I said, your wife is going to challenge you. My wife challenges me, right? Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, we have challenges that we have to work through in order for me to become and be a better man to her, to be a better man to my children, to be a better man for our son to my mother, to be a better son to my father, to be a better family member, right? We have all these different challenges, right? So taking the extra step to be special, special in the sense of one, it's an honor to be a father. It's an honor to be a dad, right? Because again, any man can be a father. And we know of examples of fathers just soiling their royal oats, as my favorite movie Coming to America like to say, and just going and just being out here and not taking care of their responsibility, not taking care of the things that they need to be taken care of, because that's an honor. That is special when God blesses your seed to have and bring in the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. That's an honor, right? You have the and you also just have a simple obligation, right? As a man, you have an obligation to take care of your family. You have to remove your ego. And men, we have egos. Men have huge egos. Men have huge egos that we have to constantly battle with. And as you start to try to clash your ego with your walk with Christ, you have to surrender yourself. You have to constantly surrender yourself, right? So with that, right, there's a reasoned voice that we have to become. As Pope was saying, uh, just certain things with their grandfather, they ask their significant others certain questions because of their grandfather, right? He's the reasoned voice. I could go to my dad and my mom can give me and nurture me, but my dad gives me the reasoned voice. My grandfather gave you all type of the good reason of voices. He was the master at that. He could play or not play, but he could give you everything that's in the Bible, but he can also just break it down in a relative form for you to be like, okay, I get that. I understand life, and I now can compare that with the Bible, right? John 3:6 says, flesh gives birth to the flesh, but the spirit gives birth to the spirit, right? Or in a dadly term, our fatherly term, the father plants seed of the flesh, and but the spirit plants seeds of the spirit. So which side of being a dad, being someone special, are you going to be as a man, right? And just growing up, right? Growing up with my dad and my grandfather, and whenever my dad wanted me to know something or do something, he would say, "Hey, Cameron, watch your dad do it. Cameron, watch daddy do this. Watch daddy do that." He would keep me home if my mom went out somewhere so I could understand what it is to be a man. If that was nothing but sitting in the house watching TV, I know how to do that just like he do, right? I know how to cut the grass just like he do. Now, if you know the men of my family, and I'm talking about the Leonard men of my family, right? My dad, my grandfather, my great uncles, and um, and my granddad, we all love immaculate lawns. And when I first got my home, right, I and my wife can attest to this. I burnt up my lawn. I tore it up 15,000 times. I threw seed out. It looked good for a while. And they was like, why don't you just let the weeds grow with the grass? But for me growing up, that ain't what I knew. I knew of a full grass, lush with no weeds. And now I've over the like what like 2 3 years ago, I finally figured it out. I finally figured out. I did my research. I watched YouTube videos. I did everything to replicate what I saw. Right? When my granddad would talk to me, if he wanted me to know some important value, he would sit me down and talk to me and say, "Hey, this is why you need to do." I could have been as young as Cam J, but I understood at that time the important value of life that they were trying to teach me. I didn't understand it, but now as you grow older and older as a man, as you continue to have your walk with Christ, you start to understand those life lessons, right? And that's what dads do. Dads teach life lessons. I encourage Cam J not to be fearful. When he come up here and talk and say his decree, I'm just trying to put in him that, hey, it's okay to stand in front of people. It's okay to look people, and because half the time all the people that's looking at you don't want to be up here no way. They don't want to be up here. You get nervous, your hands get sweaty and all that, your knees start shaking. It's uncomfortable. But growing as a man, and I'll say this too, right? There's 4 generations I know of: my great grandfather, my grandfather, my great uncle, and my dad, that have all led churches. right? That have all been given the responsibility to lead God's people. And as I continue to grow as a man, as I continue to grow as a man and understand what my purpose is, what I'm, what things that I'm supposed to do or strive to, I appreciate God blessing them and having them to be able to continually plant that seed of leading God's people, right? Because at some point in time, as each generation goes, right, then there comes my generation, right? It's probably what 4 or 5 of us Leonard boys in that next generation, right? So I start to really focus in on when is that, because I spoke some months back or a year back or so of answering the call, right? So I don't know when that call is going to come. I don't know if and when my dad may sit me down and say, hey, you know, XYZ, the next couple of steps here, you need to be getting your mind ready. And not that he like growing up, my dad never came in my room and said, John 3:16 says this, and this. Like he never did. And I so thank God that he didn't do that. Not for me, because he never pressured me and my brother to stand up and do all this stuff. Like he didn't do all of that. He didn't coming in from preaching at church and then coming home and continuing the sermon. Thank God. I was like, we heard it at church, Daddy. We heard you at church. But as we, but as as I grow, I just continue to think about that legacy. I continue to think about the seeds that were planted, and I continue to really just appreciate the seeds that were planted, because if that's the way to get to for us to for my generation or anyone behind that to be able to see glory, I need to be taking that seriously. I need to really be focusing and trying to understand what I need to be doing to continue that legacy, right? To continue that path forward. Because, and I'm so appreciative. And with my family, it was just such an exciting thing. And we have another after my generation, which is my son, and my cousin has a Leonard son. And that's because that generation, the men in my family are very, very strong, very, very proud, right? I can't go anywhere 9 times out of 10. If I sit around other black folks long enough, be like, oh, what's your last name? Leonard. Oh, I know. Dot, dot, dot. And it's like, oh my God. So I know that I don't want to do anything to stain the family's name, because the immediate men of my grandfather and my dad, I know the life that they lived. I know the life that my great uncle and my great grandfather have lived. And I'm assuming and I'm guessing, and I would love to know, maybe after my great grandfather's dad planted that seed, so forth and so on. So it's really important to me. And as men, it should be really important to you that you don't um, just live your life any kind of way, that you don't um, neglect your responsibilities, neglect your obligations as men, right? As you're growing, as you're young, you always should have something in the back of your mind trying to steer you in the right direction, right? Because again, you're young, you're gonna do it. And I did things that I did or whatever, but I always had a moving spirit, a moving force to hold me in conviction. And the older you get, right, those convictions become stronger and stronger, or they should be becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. They should be, right? Because a special man, a special dad will feel those convictions and be like, you know what? Because a lot of us, and this goes for everybody, right? A lot of us, it's hard to say, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please forgive me. Hey, I shouldn't have said that this way, right? I should have done it this way or that way. But again, that's the only way you continue to learn and you develop. The for till the day we die, we're always going to be learning and trying to grow and trying to develop. I'm pretty sure my dad, when he was going through his ailment, he learned a whole new level of what it means to be a man, to be a leader of people when he was sitting in the hospital room, because that's nothing he had never experienced. So he had to grab something that he didn't know was even obtainable for him at that time, right? And we have to be able to continue to challenge ourselves, right? So the second part of the saying is this: it takes a special man to be a dad. The definition I found on that says dads play an essential role in the upbringing, in the development, and offering guidance, love, and support and discipline. That's what a dad is. And just because you may not have any children, and I can to our senior deacon Jack, right? Dad, Jack is a dad figure. Jack is a great father figure, right? Jack consistent. He's all I cannot think of a time that I've seen Jack not be Jack. Jack is the same way all of the time. Jack is consistent all of the time. Now, for me, maybe y'all have come in here and be like, Cameron don't feel like he need being bothered today. And see, but that's to work on, right? We had different challenges and we all have different things. But for Jack, Jack is just as much as a father or a dad as any one of us, men, because I know that he's going out and he's teaching, he's mentoring, he's doing all the things that a dad should be doing, right? So, but with that, right? Understanding that what God has called us to do is to be leaders, to be men of integrity, to have these valuable, because when we go through something, the first thing that we do is call on God. God is our father. God is our dad. Anytime we need him, we can pick up the phone. We can get on our knees and pray, not literally pick up the phone, but y'all see what I'm saying, and call him and ask him, what should I be doing? What going, right? Proverbs 23:24 says, the father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who sears a wise son will be glad in him. It's about sons because one, I am one, and I have one. And I hopefully I can speak for all of us men about being a son, is that if my dad showed me something like I told you, once I finally picked it up, and I could do this till this day, I can go, I could be like, hey, dad, hey, look, I figured out how to do this. Hey, dad, I figured out how to do that. Hey, dad, I was able to figure it out. When I'm showing something to Cameron, he gets it, he'll come to me and be like, dad, I did it. I did it. Look, I got it. I figured. It's such a, you know how men are most times and not. We try not a little bit more sensitive. So on the inside, I get a little watery. I'm like, oh man, my son, he figuring it out, boy. He is figuring it out. But that's just the lessons that we're trying to teach. Man, those are the lessons that my dad and my grandfather taught me. And when I can finally say, like, I did it, that's the same way we are with God, right? When we finally figure out something, be like, God, you don't got to worry about me doing this no more. I finally figured out after the 99th time, I finally figured out not to do this, how not to do that. I finally figured out, God, how to have my money right, God. I finally figured out, God, how to talk to my wife. I finally figured out how to not have my phone ring in church, God. Oh my God. I finally figured it out. And that's how we should be, right? We should be going to God and saying, God, look, you've been teaching me this. You've been working with me on this, because your dad is never to the. I remember my car broke down. I was going to see Nina, and she was like, just call him. Like, what's just call the man. Remember, so I called him and he don't like his day. He got to plan his day out. So I guess at the time I called him, he's like, why you driving and all up down the road? You supposed to be at school. Like that. And he had to come out of his way to come and see about me. How many times hey, probably done disturb God to come and see about you because of something and you ain't had no business going. Grace, mercy on you. And okay, now the next time you to do this, this is the step. Hard highway, and you don't got truck. But that develop our relationships with God. We should be trying to talk as a man, right? Appreciate all the dads. I appreciate all the women in Journey for always just being the comforters and allowing us to grow and develop, because y'all grow and develop at a faster rate than us. So when we finally do get it, I appreciate y'all having the grace. And happy Father's Day. I love you. Oh, oh, hold on. I do have a special presentation. I forgot. I was gonna walk off. I got a special presentation. This special presentation is for a young man that um is always, like I said, always consistent, is always the same anytime I see him. And has a wardrobe that is always business like, always business, right? And when we have things at the church, like sports day, they don't have, or at least they don't wear the sports shirt like all the rest of the men. But at least this man has one favorite team, Sister Lynn. Um, so it's one favorite team, Sister Lynn. So when, if and when his favorite team should win or we should have a sports day, Deacon Jack can come up and receive a special gift I thought about for him. So he can wear the shirt and his slacks. At least you don't gotta wear no jeans. Jack is a businessman. So Jack, show the people the shirt. Pull it out. I'll rip it. I'll open it up for you. Yeah. Sister Lynn don't got no San Francisco attire nowhere. But that's her favorite team though. Yep. A San Francisco. I'm sure it is. But y'all pray my strength in the Lord. Happy Father's Day.
Appreciate. We're gonna before we go, we're gonna pass it to our sister. She wants to say something about her dad.